I got another quartet of low-budget films to take a look at this week. I'll be getting to my thoughts on the new Final Destination movie pretty soon. But first, here's some indie movies that you might not have heard of, but you need to look out for. Let's start binging.
Low Budget Binge is where we venture down the path less traveled and look at low budget, no budget, and sometimes international films that never get that top billing you see with the usual Hollywood fare. I'll indicate in the review down below where you can find these films along with their trailers. Here we go.
The Book of the Witch is new streaming on Tubi from Self Esteem Productions. It's written and directed by Joshua Sowden. Victoria, played by Krishna Smitha, works the night shift as a security guard with her friend August, played by Danny Parker Lopez. Since losing her mother, Victoria has had an obsession with death, or more accurately, avoiding it. Through painstaking research, meaning one of those poster boards with pictures and thumbtacks connected with string, Victoria has tracked down an ancient witch, played by Ollie Williams, who is in possession of an ancient book that grants the owner immortality. The Book of the Witch is proof you can make an entertaining film while still keeping spending on the cheap. The thing that stands out the most in The Book of the Witch is the look of it all. Using lens filters and creative lighting, director-writer Joshua Sowden makes everything look interesting and, more importantly, spooky. Seeing the image of the classic witch, with the pointy hat and green skin and everything else, set against a bright orange light or in silhouette, makes for some truly nightmarish imagery. The film looks like $1 million, though I doubt the film cost anywhere near that to make. The story is pretty simple, splitting the action between the parking garage Victoria works at and in a dilapidated building in the middle of the desert. Again, Sowden makes everything look great, flipping between these two locales and keeping the story on track. There's very little explanation as to what this witch is, other than, she looks exactly like a witch when you think of what a witch looks like. Still, Ollie Williams brings the witch to life with devious and wicked glee. Krishna Smitha, who plays Victoria, is pretty good as the lead. She's determined and strong in the role. I also really liked her friend August, played by Danny Parker Lopez, who gets a likable and meaty role to play with. Sure, this is a low-budget filmmaking, but no one let the people in front of or behind the camera know about that. This is a film that is legitimately scary and looks like not too many other films out there right now. I'm a big fan of this little indie gem, and I think if you're a regular watcher of my videos, especially my low-budget binge videos, you should check out The Book of the Witch. Next, we have Everyone is Going to Die. It's new on demand from Saban Films. It's directed and written by Craig Tuohy. Wealthy divorced dad Daniel, played by Brad Moore, prepares for a visit from his daughter, Imogen, played by Gladisa Arthur, to celebrate her birthday. Once she arrives, though, a pair of masked invaders calling each other Comedy, played by Jamie Winstone, daughter of Ray, and Tragedy, played by Chiara D'Anna, burst in and hold the father and daughter at gunpoint. Through the course of the night, the twisted motivations of the two invaders are revealed, uncovering dark secrets Daniel has been keeping to himself for years. Everyone is Going to Die is a dark and brutal home invasion film that's not going to be for many. Hell, I don't know if it was for me. The film goes to some very dank depths involving humiliation, sexual assault, murder, and other heinous acts, and does so with an unblinking eye, as if the cameraman himself is held at gunpoint and forcing the audience to watch. I'll admit, I think that this film went a little too far and showed a little too much. The late in the game reveals make you understand why the two invaders are putting Daniel through all of this, but even then, it feels over the top and something beyond decent taste. Not that I'm some prim and proper couch fainter, but I was pushed to the point of turning this one off because the main message the film is trying to convey is violence. Plain and simple. Sure, there's a reason provided for it, but it doesn't make it any more watchable. What kept me watching? Well, the acting is pretty top-notch all around. Brad Moore is great as the very flawed and maybe villainous father. He seems like a good enough dad, but has that same air of indecency that Tony Soprano did, like in order to get to the place he is now, he did some very awful things. I hadn't seen more in anything, but I'll be looking forward to seeing him in future films, as he is an intimidating actor, while still being able to show his softer side. I also like the performance by Jamie Winstone as Comedy, one of the invaders who demasks early. There's a rage in her that encompasses her character. And as hard as Winstone and more are, Chiara Diana's tragic turn as, what else, tragedy is heartbreaking. Her performance is gripping, and she has some of the most heart-wrenching scenes in the film. It's also rough to watch the destruction of innocence that Gladisa Arthur represents as Daniel's daughter Imogen. All around, this is a strongly acted film, despite how dark and depraved it becomes. But the real thing that I loved the most about Everyone is Going to Die is the soundtrack. The film immediately gets my respect for using Faith No More's Take This Bottle, a song about a man looking back on his life and all of the destruction he's caused and becoming ready for what comes next. That song gives me chills every time I hear it, and it was wonderful seeing it appear in the movie. I also love the titular Everybody's Going to Die by the Church of the Cosmic Skull, a song played in the opener and closer representing the good and the bad about living and dying. At the very least, Everyone is Going to Die gave me a new song to add to my depressing and morbid playlist. If you can handle its brutality, Everyone is Going to Die is a powerful watch. I love the placement and choice of songs, and the strong performances elevates it above home invasion / torture porn, but only by a skosh. Rosario is currently in select theaters and will soon be available on demand from the Avenue Entertainment. It's directed by Felipe Vargas and written by Alan Trezza. Successful investment broker Rosario, played by Emerald Tobia, has not kept in touch with her grandmother after her mother passed away years ago. Since then, she's filled her life with work and has little time to remember where she came from or how she got to America. Rosario receives a call from her grandmother out of the blue just before a big snowstorm is about to hit New York. But it's her grandmother's landlord, played by character actor Paul Ben Victor, letting Rosario know that her grandmother has passed away, and since she is an illegal immigrant, Rosario should come and claim the body, lest it be caught up in the system indefinitely. Rosario arrives at the apartment to find it in complete disarray and full of ritualistic objects. Soon Rosario finds herself trapped in the apartment with an ancient demon attempting to get out of the closet, and strange neighbor Joe, played by David Dastmalchian, at her front door. I really wanted to like Rosario more than I did. I dig films that take place in one locale, and for the most part, Rosario could be set as a stage play, as the bulk of the action takes place in one filthy apartment. Felipe Vargas keeps things tight and tense for most of the film, giving Rosario a claustrophobic feel. Still, I don't know where the elderly woman lives or how much she pays for rent, but having seen New York apartments, I know labyrinthine spaces like this simply don't exist outside of movie land. The apartment becomes some kind of odd tesseract with secret rooms leading to caverns and open spaces that simply don't make any sense. The rooms are decorated with all kinds of grossness and squalor, as if Grandma hasn't cleaned in a good decade or so. Simply panning around the apartment gave me anxiety as the filth and clutter overwhelmed my eyes and made me start seeing just one gray glob of mess all over the place. I know the mess was intentional, but it really made for an uncomfortable watch. While Rosario tosses you into the action pretty quickly, it really doesn't get around to addressing the main theme until late in the game. Basically, Rosario is supposed to be learning a lesson about how she got into this country, and more specifically, the struggles her grandmother and mother went through as they crossed the border. Sure, this is a thorny issue these days.
Well, I feel it's a thorny issue.
Mm-hmm. But all politics aside, it feels as if this lesson Rosario is supposed to learn gets lost in the mess of Grandma's apartment for a big old chunk of the movie. Much more time is spent with Rosario's wandering around the apartment, discovering the rooms, uncovering her grandmother's magic, and then quickly learning how to do the same magic with nothing but an old book as the guide. Rosario's transformation from hedge fund advisor to bruja is way too quick for my tastes, and for someone who ignored her Mexican heritage for such a large part of her life, she picks up ancient magical spell-casting skills way too easily. That said, I did appreciate the practical effects. There are a lot of really uncomfortable body horror scenes of the rotting grandma, and some even more uncomfortable scenes with worms, maggots, and cockroaches. All of them hit the mark on making my skin crawl. The full bodysuit of the demon is pretty impressive as well. It was also nice to see David Dastmalchian, who I will continue to suggest would make a great Freddy Krueger if they ever get around to making another A Nightmare on Elm Street. In Rosario, Dastmalchian is simply playing another weirdo role, a character by now he could play with his eyes closed, as this is basically the same weirdo he's played in many other films. Emeraude Tubia is quite gorgeous, and the director knows it by placing her in a skin-tight top for the duration of the film. Tubia does a good job with the lead role, carrying the film despite its flawed story decisions. The script definitely isn't her fault. In the end, Rosario is bogged down with its wonky pacing, late in the game morality plays, and a few false endings. While the interior of Grandma's apartment is overwhelming, I think it's the strongest part of the movie. Still, nothing about Rosario stands out as something I haven't seen before in better movies like The Old Ways, and especially the excellent No One Gets Out Alive. I didn't hate Rosario, it just feels familiar, it's definitely flawed narratively, and paced weirdly. Finally, we have Delicate Arch, which is new streaming on Screambox. It's directed and written by Matthew Warren. A group of friends, note the air quotes, head to the California desert for a little R&R. But after secrets are revealed and mind-altering drugs are taken, things start getting screwy. One of the kids, Grant, played by William Leone, is a blossoming filmmaker and spouts movie ideas to the rest of the group. Soon enough, the ideas he comes up with start becoming real, and the group realizes that they are living inside of a movie. The easiest thing to do in California is grab some film equipment and a few friends and decide to go make a movie in the desert. There have been tons of lo-fi movies lately proving this, like the Horror in the High Desert series, and especially The Outwaters. The scenery is surreal, moody, and seemingly untouched by man. It's the perfect setting for a horror film. The thing is, you have to have some ideas to match that setting, or it's just going to be kids in the desert with cameras. Thankfully, Delicate Arch has a compelling concept, a talented cast, and a somewhat clever yet meta script going for it. The cast does a great job of making things interesting the whole way through Delicate Arch. There really is no real reason these friends should be hanging together. Apparently they're longtime friends who have become somewhat estranged from one another. Grant used to date Wilda, played by Kelly Mack. Wilda might be in a new relationship. Grant and Cody, played by Kevin Bolivar, are antagonistic towards one another for the whole time. And Stoner Ferg, played by Renee Leach, just wants everyone to get along. Not only do the actors keep the plot rolling, they play off of the stereotypes you see in most horror movies. There's always a stoner, but here Leach makes Ferg much more three-dimensional and integral to keeping the group together. Out of all of these fighting so-called friends, Ferg, by far, is the most likable and my favorite of the bunch. The final girl-esque Wilda turns out to be not so virtuous. The smart-ass Cody is indeed an asshole, but there are reasons for this. Each character feels like an important column keeping this story aloft, supported, and moving. This type of advanced characterization is rarely found in films like this. Yes, things get meta, and usually I find that to be annoying. There is a bit of pretension present. The conversation in the car about how each represent the stereotypical slasher characters is a little too on the nose and could have been communicated in a smoother way, but the movie within a movie angle works. I like how each of these people are living their own nightmare of their own design. While the budget here is pretty low, a lot is achieved with forced and limited perspectives and quick cuts. There is a creepy alien thing that shows up from time to time, and some zombies scattered about, but for the most part, it's the desert around them that is the main character and provides the most atmosphere and scares. Like Outwaters, Delicate Arch utilizes the lonely desert atmosphere well. Unlike the Outwaters, Delicate Arch has a cohesive story, and by the end, there's a whiff of an idea as to what the hell is going on. While Outwaters went for the mood of the analog trend, at least I could understand the sense of story in Delicate Arch, which to me makes the film scores more likable and rewatchable. That said, things are kept relatively vague as to the cause of it all, instead simply diving into the metatextual stuff of the film, becoming a movie within a movie. I'm starting to confuse myself, so I'm going to end this review, but if you don't mind a heavy dose of meta and some nightmarish desert scenes, Delicate Arch is the desert meta movie for you, I guess. Well, there's 4 indie films for you to bounce around in your brain pan. Do any of them look good to you? Let me know which ones you want to check out and which ones you don't down in the comments. Please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're